American Heritage Dictionary defines transition as the process of change. Sustainability, maintaining existence, nourishing, confirming.
What is Local 2020 as you understand it?
I'll tell you what the mission statement is, and then I'll tell you what I think it is. Working together toward local sustainability, taking into account ecology, economy, and community, in essence, a triple bottom line, through education and action. Now, what is it? I think Local 2020 is an organization that enjoys partnering, bringing that message of sustainability to existing organizations.
Well, to me, it's been a place where I could go and meet with other people who are interested in similar things.
Well, Local 2020 is a conjuring up of a dream, isn't it? I think Local 2020 is a life raft that people can find each other and have a common vocabulary and have a dialogue about what comes next.
A nexus of people in the community that are interested in affecting change in the community.
A group of people that are trying to find a common chord.
For me, Local 2020 has always been about creating a more self-reliant, integrated, self-sufficient community.
A loosely knit group of individuals that are passionate about sustainable living.
I look at Local 2020 as a social experiment.
It's a group of folks trying to manifest a response to what they see coming down the line.
I think we're more of a process, a work in progress. I think what connects us, probably more than anything else, is the concept of sustainability, both environmental sustainability and economic sustainability, and how to connect that with a viable, interactive community.
Well, it's a bunch of people who are doing their passion. And I think in some ways when it started there was an effort to try to organize it, but as time goes on it's really those subject areas that some one or two people at least have a real passion for to carry out.
An effort by people in Jefferson County to confront diminishing oil and climate change and the fact that the way we live uses too much of the Earth's resources.
Local 2020 to me is an organization of people interested in seeing more goods and services being utilized and resources utilized locally.
An organization that is really looking to help our community find sustainability and to allow people to come into the organization or to use the organization to bring their ideas into fruition.
And how would you define sustainability if you had to do a one-liner?
I think that's always been a tough question for people in this realm. Because I don't think we know it. I don't think we know what it is. I don't think we've experienced it, at least not in my lifetime. We've been in overshoot the whole time I've been alive. But essentially, for me, it's like being able to live in a way that does not deprive, 7 generations from now, the right to live.
Sustainable to me is a scenario where we are more self-sufficient, that we're conscious of what we're taking away from the earth in a way that we leave something for future generations.
Just doing the smart thing. Being able to look at end to end how one is living.
So trying to figure out how to have food and clothing and housing where we don't take more to create it than the earth produces.
Sustainable, to me, is structures that are built within an environment that do not exist in spite of the environment.
I think it's the first verb of the 21st century. I think people get tied up that it's a noun. I think sustainability is how we begin to interact with each other in the dialogue of what comes next.
When did it start? It's in December, I think, of 2005. We invited Brian Weller to come up to Port Townsend from Willits, California. And he spoke to our community about the work that Willits was doing to organize around peak oil considerations.
It was kind of, let's just try what he did. It worked for them. Let's see if we can just do the same thing. Let's get our own inventory of what we have, and only from there can we judge if we actually are making a difference.
The very first meeting, we had 80 people show up and self-selected at various tables. We formed 12 action groups.
It was a lot of fun because there was a lot of results right away from the 10 different groups, and those groups were kind of like interest groups.
Well, the current structure is very loose in that the steering committee is a group of people who are all self-selected, people who are interested in doing that kind of work. We all come together once a month and talk about whatever the topic of the day is. It's all very chaotic. We did a retreat and determined that a good model for us to work internally would be this chaotic model. Chaotic is the sweet spot between chaos and order. Whenever you have chaos and bring in a spark of energy, that chaos will self-organize around that energy to do whatever needs to be done. And that's pretty much what happens. We're pretty chaotic, but as soon as there's an opportunity, we self-organize around that and move. Each one of the action groups is pretty much the same way. It starts up with somebody's passion. Whatever it may be, we provide the forum for that to unfold. As they start their action groups, we give some guidance on how to go about doing that. If they don't have organizing in that background, we give some organizational skills. Some of us will sit in with them to help them hold their first meetings. The steering committee provides the guidance and provides the framework that's needed. So we have a listserv now of over 300 people that get regular monthly announcements, PR machine kind of things to support the various action groups. But the action groups do the majority of the work. Again, they kind of follow the same pattern. They set up a schedule of meetings, they attract the people that are interested in the topic, and then if that topic generates new projects around other people's passions, the group supports them.
How do you understand the partnering process as it works today?
Well, in my own personal experience with the partnering process, it really is a matter of looking across the community and finding out who else in the community is already showing an interest or doing work in the area that you're looking at, and making contact, explaining what it is we're trying to do, what kind of resources we can bring to bear, and is there a way that we could work together to further each other's work. It's been a growth opportunity for me to find ways to work with them so that we don't put them at jeopardy, but that we're actually moving them forward and not causing them more problems than giving them solutions.
If I was to give a tip to communities that want to get involved in replicating Local 2020 or sustainability, I think there's some leadership skills that they need to be looking for. I think people with curiosity, people who are not afraid of new information, people who are willing to work with diversity. There's a natural system, much like when you're confronted with the fact that you have cancer. You go through denial, you go through anger, and then you come back out. And I think you want to have leadership in a sustainable communities effort that can be intentional about all three of those, but get to the third one. I think the worst thing that could happen, and it does happen, is both environmentalists and right-wing traditionalists get paralyzed by their fear. And then they get righteous, and then they personalize the conflict, and then they get small. And what you need for social change, regardless of whether you call it globalization or sustainability or individualization or whatever, you need people who are willing to manage through change.